Lefty politicians using your money to fund left-wing court challenges. I'm Brian Lilly with the Rebel.media. Justin Trudeau is going to start taking your money, your hard-earned tax dollars, and use it to fund left-wing activist court cases that will see liberal-friendly groups sue the federal government. Does that make sense to you? On any level, does that make sense to you? We're going to pay people and organizations to sue the federal government. On Tuesday, Trudeau's Liberals, fronted by his Justice Minister, Jody Wilson-Raybould, announced that the Liberals were bringing back the Court Challenges program to promote, and I quote, access to justice for Canadians who need it the most.
The funding to be provided over the next 5 years through the reinstated Court Challenges program will safeguard rights guaranteed under the Constitution, including the Charter of Rights and Freedoms and under the Official Languages Act, and make justice more accessible for Canadians. This new version of the program, with its expanded scope, will clarify and help safeguard an even broader range of constitutional and quasi-constitutional rights and freedoms.
Now, this is resurrecting a program that Stephen Harper and the Conservatives killed off early in their first mandate. They closed the doors to new funding in September of 2006. I've long argued that scrapping the Court Challenges program was the most conservative thing that Harper and company ever did. I mean, really, the federal government paying activist groups to sue them in court. It's mind-boggling. Why on earth would they do that? Well, to put it bluntly, it's to give themselves cover. See, by paying other people to sue them, it makes sure that they could back court cases whose objectives they supported without having to anger the public. They could fund the court case, help the lefty activists go before lefty activist judges who would quite often rule in their favor, and then the lefty government of the day could stand back and say, we don't have a choice in this matter, we have to follow the court's orders. It's far safer, politically at least, than getting out in front of issues that the public at large would disagree with. To give you an idea of what kind of cases, what kind of programs were funded before the Conservatives shut it down, the challenge to the security certificate of Adil Sharkawi was funded. Sharkawi was a Moroccan national that CSIS believed was participating in radical Islamist activities and had attended a terrorist training camp, they said, in Afghanistan in the 1990s. Sharkawi was arrested on a security certificate, a decades-old tool to remove foreign nationals deemed a security risk to Canada. Sharkawi could have left Canada at any point, but he decided to stay, remain in jail, declare his innocence, and fight using your money. The Court Challenges program backed his case and tried to strike down the security certificate, which in the case of Sharkawi had been signed off on after 2 federal Liberal cabinet ministers reviewed the evidence against him. This is the type of case we'll be funding again in the future. Sharkawi, by the way, continue to be able to find other ways to fund court challenges even after the demise of the previous Court Challenges program. His certificate was eventually lifted by the federal court. He was released, allowed to stay in Canada. But if new funding was stopped on September 25, 2006, how was he able to launch more challenges without this program? How were other cases, like those brought forward by Omar Khadr, funded? The way most people do it, their own money, donations, pro bono legal work. Ian Brody is an academic. He's also the former chief of staff to Prime Minister Stephen Harper. He's written extensively on the Court Challenges program and its various iterations. And what he's found is that in the past, the program morphed into one that funded one political point of view, that even sought to create new lobby groups to challenge the government in court. It was for those reasons that others and the Harper government decided they had to shut it down. Now, as an aside, the program actually funded a court battle against Stephen Harper before he became Prime Minister. When Harper was leading the National Citizens Coalition, he challenged the spending limits during federal elections on third parties like the NCC. Harper claimed they were too restrictive, that they violated charter guarantees to freedom of expression. The Court Challenges program didn't back Harper. Instead, they funded Democracy Watch to oppose Harper and the NCC. The court, by the way, found that the spending limits did violate the charter, but in the end said it was justified and the law stood. The NCC paid their own fees. The opposition was funded in more ways than one by the government through government lawyers defending the law, and by the government then funding outside groups like Democracy Watch to intervene in the case on the side of the government. The supporters of this program claim that without it, many people and groups couldn't challenge the government in court. But is that true? Was there a lack of court challenges without government funding in the Harper years? Hardly. There were challenges on things like safe injection sites by Insight, challenges on pipelines, on terror laws, on election laws, even election outcomes. The groups that launched these just had to do it the old-fashioned way, to fundraise, to find patrons, to find lawyers willing to work for free, and guess what? They did. But now we're going back to the days of your money being used to fund politically motivated litigation that you do not support. It isn't fair, but if you paid attention, you knew this was coming. I warned about it, others warned about it, now it's here. As I like to say, elections have consequences, and this bad decision is just one of them. If you like the Rebel video you just watched, make sure you never miss a Rebel video again. Click here to subscribe to our YouTube channel.